Talk about confusing advice then.
Absolutely. It is very confusing. But the first thing that I would say is that this should not discourage anybody from eating vegetables. Just because this new research is calling into question the extent to which vegetable intake impacts our risk of cardiovascular disease, it doesn't mean that we should stop eating them. Vegetables are certainly beneficial for many aspects of health.
It's a bit confusing, though, isn't it, in the fact they say, well, they hadn't previously taken into account smoking and drinking a lot.
Well, that was a silly study, then, wasn't it?
I mean, if you're a big smoker and a big drinker, I can't imagine that healthy eating is really top of your agenda anyway.
You're absolutely right. This is why studies on lifestyle and diet habits and disease risk are so challenging to run. Very often you find that people who have healthy habits, such as a higher vegetable intake, will also not smoke, exercise more regularly, and be more mindful about their diet in general. So it does make it harder to establish which of the healthy habits is contributing to the reduced risk of disease.
OK, so let's assume then that people aren't smoking and drinking heavily. Vegetables then, is it still the case that they do have benefits for cardiovascular disease? And if so, which ones? I always think pulses are supposed to be really good. I don't know if I've made that up.
To keep you having a pulse.
Yes, exactly.
Well, pulses are high in fibre, and previous research has linked increased fibre intake to a reduced risk of cardiovascular disease. And there are many beneficial nutrients present in vegetables that could potentially help to reduce our risk of cardiovascular disease. But the most important thing is looking at optimizing our metabolic health. So metabolic syndrome is the biggest predictor of cardiovascular disease. Metabolic syndrome is a cluster of conditions, including high blood sugar levels, high blood pressure, elevated blood lipids, so cholesterol, and triglycerides, and reduced waist circumference. And the best way to reduce metabolic syndrome and prevent metabolic syndrome is to have a whole food diet that is including minimal amounts of processed, refined foods.